Welcome to the GridIronStuds Show. I'm Chad Wilson. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and I've been wanting to do a GridIronStuds Show for the longest time. I can't even tell you the last time that I've done one. Been doing the Two Chumps Football Podcast. You guys enjoyed that during the football season. Emil Calamino and I discussing college and pro football events, activities, and issues, and also picking games every week, which we were very, very good at. And, of course, Emil and I would talk about what's going on in college football there. But just to have a strict GridIronStuds Show where we talk a little bit about recruiting and what's going on in college football, haven't been able to do that for a while. So I said, let me just jump on here and do it. I mean, there's really nothing going on in college football, right? Nothing. I mean, it's been boring, right? Nothing going on there, correct? Yeah. A whole lot's been going on, and I didn't have a chance to get on and do a rapid reaction show about the Nico Iamaleava saga, but nevertheless, it's here, and it has cast yet another light on college football and the new state of college football. Listen, if you fell into a coma somewhere around 2005 or so, and you spent the last 20 years in that coma, and then you somehow miraculously got out of it and got your wits and your bearings about you, and you look at this sport now, it's not even the same sport. It's not even the same sport. Yes, on Saturday, they still wear helmets and shoulder pads, and they advance the ball forward by trying to get 10 yards within 4 downs. And the end zones are still painted, and the field is still 52 and a half yards wide and 100 yards long, but nothing else outside of the game of college football resembles anything that was going on in 2005, 2010, or even 2015 for that matter. So I usually like to start off the GridIronStuds Show with some topics, like the main topics that are going on in the sport. That might just suck up the entirety of this show. But I'd be wrong if I didn't throw out some recruiting advice and some recruiting wisdom before I left. So I will be doing that. But God, are we avalanched with stuff that is going on in college football. Now, to our credit, Emil Calamino and I on the Two Chumps Football Podcast, we have kind of forecasted a lot of what's going on with college football. And yes, we've acted like the old men that want you to get off of their lawn. And we said very early on, even when they just started discussing transfer portals and NILs, that this probably would not be good for the sport. Now, I had since come down off of that. Yes, the players deserve some compensation, and you're going to be a little bit surprised by some of the things that I have to say coming up on this show about all of this stuff. But ultimately, my overarching idea about all of this is the same. I don't think any of this in the long run is good for college football. Now, that's very difficult for some people to wrap their minds around, because college football right now is as popular as ever. It's as popular as it has ever been. Don't get confused about that. It's popular right now for the wrong reasons. It's popular because there's news and drama coming out about it, and we just love drama in this country. We, pick our leaders in terms of drama, who brings the most drama and who's the most popular. So that's just bled its way into all different parts of our lives, including college football. But what you are going to realize, whether you like it or not, is all that attention and drama has an end, and it usually ends up on its face. There are destructive properties that come with wanting all of that attention and having all of that drama, and it's rarely ever good. And I see college football heading in that direction. Somebody's got to get a handle on what is going on between the transfer portal and the NIL. And we've asked college football's NCAA to do this, and I've never been a fan of the NCAA. This dates all the way back to me as a time as a player. I used to write for the school newspaper at the University of Miami, and just about every other article that I wrote I was attacking the NCAA there because there's strict rules that didn't make sense. They acted like communists, and they have completely gone in the other direction. And I've been critical to them about them on that. You went from communist to just complete socialist. And you know what? Not even that. I can't even give them a label. They have just sat back and let things go awry. I'm going to do something really rare here. I'm going to defend the NCAA in this program. But before I get into all of that, I hope you enjoy the show. If you enjoy the show, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Don't want to hit you guys over the head with that because I haven't done one of these in a while. So you got to figure out if you even like the Gridiron Stud Show and what I'm doing here. You get to the end of this thing and you still like me, subscribe, would greatly appreciate that. As some of you may know, I do some other things on this channel. A lot of it has to do with defensive back training, education, etc., etc. I do that here on the show. So we got 3 things going. I have the Indie Drills podcast where I talk about defensive back play. I have the Two Chumps Football podcast where we talk about issues in college and NFL football and pick games every week, and that operates during the football season. Then we have the Gridiron Stud Show where the main topic is college football and college football recruiting. So got a lot going on this channel. If you're a football head, well, then this is the place to be. And if you're a football head, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button now because you're definitely in the right place. Well, let's just talk about some issues out here. So 2,700 players have entered into the transfer portal this spring. This is year, I believe, 7. We're going on year 7 of the transfer portal. In that first year, 2018-2019 season, academic year, 1,561 players entered into the transfer portal. We are way above that number now. So what is it? Is it that so many more players now are disgruntled, don't like where they are and want to move? Has it just become easier for people to do it and go in that transfer portal? What is going on? I think it's probably a little bit of both, right? Players feel like they don't have to put up with certain things. But let's just be honest about this part. And it doesn't get talked about enough because, the colleges protect themselves from a public relations standpoint, public opinion. They protect themselves from that. We're talking about big machines. And we're going to get into that when we start talking about the Tennessee breakup with Nico Iamaleava. We are, and I'm probably butchering that last name, but you guys know what I'm talking about. College football is a big machine, both the programs as well as the whole institution, all of the members. It's a big, big machine. They will use that machine and the money and the power to formulate opinions when it comes to them versus the athlete. And they are going to protect that. And what they're not going to put out there is how at a lot of these programs now, players get forced out. They get forced out. So part of the reason why the transfer portal has ballooned from 1,561 players to 2,700 players is because players get forced out. Originally, players wanted this freedom to move. They wanted this freedom to go wherever they did. And when I sat here and thought about it, they should have that freedom to move. All right. Some people don't like this argument, but the coaches have this freedom to move and they should have that freedom, but the coaches abused it. When you outright lie to a player's face during the recruiting process, you tell him you're going to be there. He gets on campus, and in some cases, 2-3 days later, a coach picks up and leaves. That's an abuse of the process. That's just an abuse of your powers and your abilities. And you had to know that the chickens were going to come home to roost on that. Now it's the college coaches that feel like they are being mishandled by the players, like there's no loyalty in the sport, and like, oh, these kids are confused, and no one wants to go through anything tough. I got news for you. It is a major upheaval for the players on a roster and the ones that have been recruited when a coach just picks up and leave. When that coach just picks up and leave, he has no care in the world about what's coming in after him. That option quarterback that's sitting there and pledged his dying loyalty to you, and now a spread coach comes in and he's ruled obsolete. What's that guy supposed to do? Well, the coaches didn't care in those situations. The athletic directors didn't care in those situations. Coaches were getting fired. Coaches were just picking up and leaving. And you know what? It's a 50-50 thing with the coaches and the programs. The coaches start moving around because they never feel safe wherever they're at. They can get fired for any reason out there. A coach could go double-digit wins back to back, get the fans' expectations up, and if he goes 7-5, he can get fired the following season if he opens up at 2-4, simply because he's not as good as those first couple of years where he came in. So the idea for coaches moving along is the moment I get hot somewhere, I got to get the hell out of there before I cool off, because the moment I cool off, the athletic director is going to cave to the pressure of the folks on Twitter and the traditional media, who now starts to act like Twitter. They get all of their questions pretty much from Twitter, and what the fans are saying on Twitter, and they will fire a coach. So before I get fired and cause my resume some harm, I cause my career some harm, those coaches get hot and they start having their representatives put out feelers and find other places to go. And they were leaving players in the weeds left and right. They were leaving them hanging left and right. And at some point, when you abuse it like that, something had to happen. So the moment that the players were also given that kind of freedom, they went absolutely nuts. And that's what you see happening now. The moment a player, and correct me if I'm wrong out there, folks, are the players right now not doing what the coaches were doing before this? The moment a player gets hot, they have any kind of performance, they want more. And in the case of what happened at Tennessee, that player will try to get more out of the program that he's at. And if he can't, he will pick up and go to another program. Now, in Nico's case, he was not able to get more money, and that whole thing was mishandled. I'm not going to go into all the details of that because this thing's a week old, and to be honest, it has been discussed ad nauseum. Anything I tell you today won't be the first time that you're hearing it, because it has just been talked about everywhere. But the truth of the matter is that this is what the players are doing now. And what Nico did is it's not something new. This has been going on in college football for the last 3-4 years. This just happened to be highly publicized because it's the quarterback at a, well-known SEC school. And we know the SEC and Big Ten pretty much run college football right now. And this is a high-profile SEC school, and it involves the most high-profile position. And to be honest, might have been mishandled on Nico's side. But whatever the case may be, this is happening across college football. The moment a player has some production, he's going back to the table. He's looking for more, or he's leaving. This is what coaches were doing, were they not? Just think about it. For those of you that want to get mad about this, this is exactly what coaches were doing. And again, I don't know if I 100% blame coaches, because I explained to you the reasons that they were doing it. It's either get hot and get going, or get hot, stay there, try to hang out, try to have some stability at a program, pull back. You're not just going to keep winning 11 and 12 games every year. You're not just going to keep winning 9, 10 games at certain programs. There's an expiration date for that. You'll fall back some. And the moment they fell back, hey, here comes he's on the hot seat talk. And then a guy gets fired. So they would leave. And they were doing that. And parents and players were paying attention. And now they have the freedom. And that's what they do. And we have no salary cap with this NIL thing, because the NCAA has not been able to really implement anything there. And I'm going to defend the NCAA by saying they can't, because the moment they try to put in a rule now, someone takes them to court and they lose. Like the NCAA right now is, they're like the bottom feeder team in Division I football. They're like McNeese State going against Oklahoma in court right now. They just have no chance of winning. They get blown out every time. I don't know how hard they're fighting for this. They were fighting hard to not have the money being distributed to college football players for all these years. And now that it's happening, I thought early on they were just like, all right, this is what you guys want. We'll just sit back. You guys can transfer, go wherever you want. Hey, pay a kid whatever you want. You've been doing it anyway. Just go pay them. We'll sit back and watch and let's see how this goes. But they, it has come to my attention the NCAA has tried more than that. And every time they've tried something and gone to court, they've been pretty much run over and touchdown, getting scored on them. They're getting blown out left and right. So, yeah, they weren't motivated to do anything in the first place, but they can really just throw up their hands now and say, oh, okay, right, you guys go wild. Transfer all over the place. You guys pay them whatever. Do whatever. God bless you. That's what they're doing. And as such, we've got very little rules at a time where we probably have really needed them. And so players can basically do what they want. This is free agency every year, and there's no salary cap. Not only is there no salary cap, there's no real reporting of players' salaries in college football. I sound crazy saying that. Again, if you're a guy that woke up out of a coma from 2005 and you just heard me say that, you probably fell back into your coma. There's no place to actually report what a player's salary is. There's just rumors and what you think and what's kind of been reported. And let me let you know, reporting in this day and age has a National Enquirer feel to it. So can you really trust anything? A lot of people saying the impetus for what went on with Nico at Tennessee is the University of Miami, my school, signing Carson Beck to a $4 million a year NIL deal. I don't know that. Can we even be sure that the amount is $4 million? We don't even know the salaries of coaches at the University of Miami. It's a private institution. But the reports out there are, and at this point it's being reported as fact, that, Carson Beck is getting $4 million a year. Nico's representatives said he's worth at least that. So apparently he went to Tennessee and said, give me $4 million or else. And the or else was apparently sitting out of some practices in the spring. It was reported that he was ready to hold out of the playoff game that Tennessee went and played. Don't know about that, but I explained to you that these college football programs are big machines, and when stuff starts hitting the open airwaves and there is a battle for reputation, a lot of times they're going to win. They're going to spend their money. They're going to prop up their machine. They're going to get their lawyers going. They're going to get out in front of things in the press, and they hold the power when it comes to that. All right? They hold the power when it comes to that. So they will formulate opinions out there. They will control the narrative most of the times. It sometimes takes something really wild from the player or the player's parents or representatives to kind of upset everything and put, the ball back in their court. It rarely ever happens. It kind of just goes in terms of public opinion the way that the school paints the picture. And, that's just the facts of life. If there is one area in which college football programs still hold the chips, it's in that. That's in swaying public opinion. So right now, Nico Iamaleava looks bad. Okay, he looks like the poster boy for greed in the NIL era. He looks like the poster boy for mishandling with representatives. And it's going to be fun to see how this comes back to bite him if and when he's heading on to the next level. We're already seeing people stinging Shedeur Sanders. As I sit here talking about this, there's a story going on and on around about Shedeur Sanders and how he has bad body language and his interview was the worst and da-da-da. I strongly doubt that was the case, but there is a distaste and disdain for Deion Sanders, the coach dad. All right? People loved him as a player, but there's disdain out there for him as coach and dad and the way that he's wielding his power. I can go into a whole long story about why wasn't this the story for, Archie Manning when Peyton and Eli were coming out. But we're in a different era, and Dion is definitely more vocal than Archie Manning. So, that does allow more darts to be thrown in his direction. But getting back to this, there's all this being thrown at Shedeur Sanders because of his father acting as a rep and trying to control and manipulate things as he goes up against the big machine, which is the NFL. It's going to be interesting to see now that this has happened at Tennessee, as a high profile place like Tennessee, and movement from Tennessee to UCLA, how this affects Nico coming out. It will follow him. There's no doubt about that. This is going to follow him around. There's no getting around that. And how much will it affect him? On the brass tacks, I'm not here to rip the kid. What I remember from him in high school, just the things that I saw and the people that I know, y'all may or may not know, I finished high school in the Southern California area, so I know some folks who knew some folks and said he was a good kid. All right, kid's not a problem like that. Now, might have a dad that's super involved. Better than no dad, right? But super involved, maybe spearheaded some of these quote unquote problems that have been had. And so the kid's, picking up the tab on that, whatever the case may be. But I personally don't think he's a $4 million a year quarterback. It just sounds crazy for me to say that. For that matter, Carson Beck's going to have to prove that to me at the University of Miami. It was great having the, everything that you had at Georgia. You're going to have to prove that and he's coming behind Cam Ward. It's going to be very difficult for him to live up to that $4 million price tag. So if Nico's representatives were going off of that, that was a tough place to start your negotiations. A part of me feels like the kid didn't feel like being at Tennessee anymore. And if I'm going to stay here, I'm going to need more money. And if I'm not going to get that more money, I'll just go back home. Lost in all this NIL transfer portal era is that kids do get homesick. This is still a thing. Not, just because money has been introduced into college football doesn't mean that gets pulled out of it. Teenagers are still teenagers. Young men are still young men. They get homesick. So he may not, a kid that grew up in Southern California, been in love with Tennessee and whatever else was going on there. By the way, they had to replace 4 out of 5 linemen there. Okay, maybe didn't want to get knocked around anymore. Maybe he had some doubts about how effective they would be offensively. And so, hey, you know what? I don't feel like being here at Tennessee. And in this era, I can pick up and leave because that's what college football is now. So you know what? If I'm going to stay here at Tennessee, you guys give me some more money. How about $4 million? Maybe it went down like that. And when they balked, hey, you know what? I don't care. Maybe I'll sit out a few things. Maybe I'll strong arm this because at the end of the day, I don't care. If you guys say no and it gets to where you guys kick me out of here, I'll just leave because I've been kind of talking to these other programs anyway. All right. And I'll, if I need to go back home to Southern California, which is where he ends up now at UCLA, good pickup for UCLA, who needed some positive things to happen at that program, then, that's what he ended up doing. And people can talk about how his 2.4 now went to, below $2 million. He'll be fine. Okay. If it's 1.5 million, he'll be just fine. You got $1.5 million for playing college football. So for those of you out there and I know how fans get in Knoxville, Tennessee, you want to sit there and laugh at the guy because, he's getting maybe $1 million less for all of his trouble that he kicked up. Hey, for those of you, many of you, 99.9% of you that have got something to say on social media about that, he's got more money than you. He'll be fine, okay? He'll be just fine, and he'll be at home. Yes, it costs more to live in Southern California, but the kid will be at home, not far from where he grew up and played high school football. So he'll be just fine. And for that matter, I think Tennessee will be as well. They pick up Joey Aguilar, who was at UCLA. Let's talk again about how college football is now. This kid, Joey Aguilar, threw for 6,700 yards and 56 touchdowns in his 2 seasons at Appalachian State, and left App State because kids will level up now. They'll go ball out at a lower level school in the moment the moment they show some production, they're going to the table. And he did, transferred into UCLA earlier this year. Once Nico showed up, transferred right back out because, hey, you can come and go as you please in college football. So the kid's going to head over to Tennessee. Maybe that works. Maybe this whole thing just works out. Maybe Nico's a better fit for UCLA than he was at Tennessee. Maybe the Aguilar kid is better suited to be playing in Tennessee. He played at App State. Maybe he'll be happier in Tennessee. I mean, he just came from App State. Maybe he'll be happier there and he's a better fit. Maybe Nico's a better fit at UCLA around his friends, family, and all that good stuff. Maybe all's well that ends well. But listen, you know who the real winners are in the NIL transfer portal era of college football? It is the media outlets and the social media channels that have massive traffic now every time stuff like this happens. Those are the true winners. And so that's what you have. Speaking of transfers, you guys may or may not have missed this, but West Virginia had 36 kids basically going to the transfer portal this spring. Now that Rich Rodriguez has come in there, originally I just thought, okay, this is an old school guy doing old school things, and he's not connecting with the new era of kid who doesn't have to put up with anything. They don't have to put up with the running, the lifting, the yelling, the meetings. They don't have to put up with anything. They get money and they can leave. What a great setup. I might sound like a hater, but I have said it all along. One of these two things either need to go or be heavily regulated. You can't have transfer portal and NIL on steroids at the same time. You cannot. Nevertheless, kids can pick up and leave, and they did, 36 of them. But digging into it, I found out, some of this, and this goes to something that I mentioned earlier. Rich Rod came in, didn't like the roster at West Virginia, that I was not up to par or did not fit what it is his vision is of the program and what it is he likes to do. And so I think he highly recommended to a good amount of these kids that you hit the portal, go find opportunities elsewhere. You have that available to you. 24 of the 36 players are scholarship players. 12 other guys were, quote unquote, non-scholarship walk-on players that have decided to go elsewhere and hit the transfer portal. So the number of 36 is jarring. It would, knock you back and make you feel like West Virginia is in shambles. But no, in this era where players can leave, coaches can also shop. And you have to know West Virginia is in the transfer portal heavy. They've got some spots they need to fill. They've got some holes in the roster. They're going to be shopping in there heavy. Have fun. There's 2,700 guys in there, Rich Rodriguez, for you to go ahead and comb through. You and your staff will be fine. Something that has popped up in a recent 24, 48 hours that's kind of annoying me is that there are a bunch of college basketball players with zero eligibility. That means they've played out their 5 to play 4. They've done that, are jumping in the transfer portal. Why, you ask? Because there may be some legal rulings. Once again, the NCAA going to court, and there's been a challenge on that recruiting clock of 5 years to play 4. And if you just go off of what has been happening lately, and I've mentioned that the NCAA is just getting flat backed in all of these cases, there's a chance that there might be a ruling on that allows a player to have more than 4 years of eligibility. Hell, let's just do whatever we want. Transfer when you want, ask for more money whenever you want, and then play college football as long as you want. It'll be great for the sport of basketball and football. I'm sure it'll be fine. For you folks out there thinking like that, you've got to be out of your mind. I don't want to watch 27 and 28-year-olds playing college sports. I don't know about you. I feel like you have your time and then you move on with your life. If the professional avenue is open for you, drive your car down that avenue. And if it's closed, take a detour, go use that degree that you thought was nothing, go get it, go use it, and go get a job. I don't want to see you 28, 29 years old playing college football. Now, if there was some extenuating circumstances, death in a family, injuries, whatever, and you get a 6th year, 5th, 6th year, there was COVID, something like that, fine. But going beyond that, you know who you're hurting? You're hurting high school football. If that ruling goes against the NCAA and we just kind of open end how long a guy can play college football and basketball, This will further drive a stake into the heart of high school football players and basketball players that are coming behind all of this. The rosters get closed. Players won't be able to get in there. It is harder now to get recruited to play college football than it ever has been before. Can you imagine that in this era where everything is so open and free? You know who's in prison? High school football players. High school football players. And so I'm going to close out this short Gridiron Studs reintroductory podcast, because I'm going to be looking to do this each and every week, by talking to you high school football players. I've given a ton of advice on this channel. If you don't believe me and this is your first time here, head into the Gridiron Studs videos and you will see there's been a ton of advice given here. I think all of that advice that really spans back 6-7 years is more valuable now than it ever has been. If you were kind of listening to me before, if you had me muted before, if you weren't listening at all before, you better start listening now. You better go crank those videos back on and listen to all of those things that I said about what you need to do to get recruited. And I'm going to say this to you guys right now. The best thing you can have as a high school football player in this recruiting game is self-awareness. You do not have the time or the space to be delusional. You cannot be delusional. You can't run around with this hoping thing in your head. And the calendar has moved so fast because not only is there a transfer portal and is there NIL, there is a movement of the calendar because we got an early signing date. So if you're getting to that summer going into your senior year and things aren't the way that they need to be, you've got some serious moves you need to make. You got some serious changing of thinking that needs to happen. And so I'm going to say to all you guys right now, you fringe players, maybe even some of you 4-star guys. All right. If you're a 5-star guy and they're coming after you and they're trying to throw the bag at you and they're throwing NIL money your way and they're throwing big NIL lies your way, I'm not talking to you guys. I'm talking about you guys that are really trying late, or you're really trying to get interest from these Power 4 schools and it's kind of lukewarm and maybe, I don't know, do yourself a favor and go lower than that. And that just kind of decries all of what makes you an athlete, all right? We strive for the highest. Don't get me wrong. But when I say go lower, I mean go to a program that's not classified as higher. What I am going to tell you is this: what you're getting at these programs that are below or maybe on the lower end of the Power 4 or the Group of 5, the MAC schools, the other smaller conferences that don't make up the Big 10 or the ACC or the SEC or the Big 12, is you are probably getting better coaching. And this is not a shot at any of the coaches in the Power 4. The great coaches know who they are, and they won't feel like a rock is being thrown at them here because they already know. All right. They know that they're coaching their proper position. They know why they're there. They have a resume of guys that they are developed and they know what they're doing. But far more often now, I am seeing guys being brought on to the rosters as coaches in these Power 4 schools that aren't really coaches. They may not even know much about that position. They probably didn't play the position. They may have limited time coaching it. It's not on their resume, but what they can do is they have connections with NIL people. They know how to go talk to a mom and a dad and a kid and get a kid to come and get on campus and become a signee with them. And so he has a spot on the roster. You can quicker nowadays at the Power 4 schools get a job coaching because of your recruiting chops over your ability to develop a player. Y'all know this is true. And if you don't, you better ask somebody. That's how guys get on the roster. So yes, I know how to get you on this boat. I know how to pull you out of that water, but I'll be damned if I know how to clean you up and get you on that dinner plate. And, all right. Development is kind of going to be your own thing once you get here. And I get it. And I'm a bit of a beneficiary of that because I do train defensive backs. And so I get guys that need to be taught how to play the game, how to play their position in the off season, because there isn't a bunch of that going on at these, big time schools. The coaches are skilled at getting the players, not always skilled at developing the players. And you guys will kind of know where those places are. But if you want to sit here and be in the business of, I just want to go to a school that everyone will look at and say, wow, and I'll feel good about it, well, man, this is going to end bad for you. You're going to sneak in that door. You're going to get kind of maybe half-ass coaching. You're going to run into a whole bunch of political issues. All right. There'll be a lot of politics on these rosters because money's involved now. And a guy who's getting a lot of money from the collective is going to play. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to get that guy off the roster, move him down, jump in front of him when you don't have the kind of NIL contract that he has. When someone is paying out that kind of money, they're going to want to see that player on the field. This is kind of some stuff that happens in the NFL, but since we've introduced money into college football, this is going to happen earlier now. So if you were, kind of disgusted or bothered by politics at your high school level, get ready for college. Get ready for college. If you're the kind of player that knows you need development, if you thrive on development and you want to learn how to play your position, you're really preparing yourself for that professional level, then I'm here to tell you, look really hard at those lower level Power 4 Group of 5 schools. Quinyon Mitchell, cornerback for the Philadelphia Eagles, who walks out of his rookie season with a ring as part of the Philadelphia Eagles World Football Championship team, who played great as a rookie, was a guy at Toledo who started playing. He had 3 interceptions in a game, I believe, as a sophomore. So you know what was going on there. All of the big schools were coming after him, including Alabama. And that kid said, hey, I'm going to be loyal to this school. And B, you know what? I've got the same coaches here. They're coaching me up, and I feel like I'm getting developed here. I'm going to stick with that. Look at how that turned out for that kid. The other part I'm going to tell you is you have stability at these smaller schools. There's a chance you're going to have the same coach for the duration of your time there, or at least get a coach for back-to-back years. That really does help you with development. You're going to build a relationship. You're going to build a skill set. A guy's going to see you at point A when you came in as an 18-year-old and build you to point B to point C to point D and make you have a better chance of developing into the kind of player that can play at the next level, instead of a new coach every year because a coach is leaving and moving and doing this and that. You're going to be in a room with the same players by and large, and not guys cycling in and out, because at these Power 4 schools at the upper end, guys transfer in, guys transfer out, guys need more NIL money, guys hopping in the portal, hopping out of the portal, and you just don't have any stability around you. If you're a fringe player, you need to start moving in that direction of, I need some stability and some development because I would like to be a professional football player. I'd like to play for the Philadelphia Eagles or the Kansas City Chiefs or for the Los Angeles Rams or San Francisco 49ers or Cincinnati Bengals or Pittsburgh Steelers Ravens. This is what I've always wanted to do. I think all of this NIL money and stuff that's been, floating through college football has made so many athletes lose sight of that. The end goal is to become a professional football player, reach the highest level, try to accomplish things, try to win a Super Bowl, try to go to a Pro Bowl, try to become an All-Pro, try to become a Hall of Famer one day. Don't let all of this money and all this stuff, cloud that. Don't let that stuff blind you. So as you head out and you're getting ready and you start, if you're a guy that's sophomore year going into your junior year, definitely if you're junior year going into your senior year, you really need to start thinking about that. Okay. Maybe you've been stiff arming some of these lower level schools. Maybe you've been stiffing a Toledo as you're chasing a Clemson because Clemson, kind of talking to you. Maybe you've been doing that. I would say you probably don't. You probably want to pull that stiff arm down. Maybe you look at Toledo. Maybe you look at Bowling Green, right? Maybe you start looking at those places and say, hey, let me do a little research here. What about my development? What about me? Yeah, it goes a little bit beyond that money. You can get, I don't know, 150, 200,000 right now from one of these schools and then end up having to transfer because they brought another guy in or your coach left and the new coach doesn't like you and he does, you don't fit his system or what he likes at that position. You can go through all of that, or you can go to one of these smaller places, get developed, It's less money, I guess, but you develop yourself into a potential NFL football player, and there's some stability around you. There's this just, I know this is a tough message for guys in this age range to get, but it's delayed gratification. If you truly believe in yourself, if you truly believe in, I just need some development and I can play. I can be a Minnesota Viking one day. I can be a Chicago Bear one day. And I know the numbers are small, whatever. Start thinking about that. Because here's what I think, and I'm going to say this in closing. Here's what I think is going to happen. Though you've got the better athletes, the top athletes, and I'm talking about the height, weight, speed guys, that's what's going to continue to pour into these upper echelon Power 4 schools. All right, the Oklahomas, the Texases, the Georgias, the Miamis, the Florida States, the Michigans, the Ohio States. We know who the teams are. The Oregons. All right, they're going to pile in there. What's going to start happening is these players are going to start going to the NFL. We've got new classes coming every year. And I think we're going to start to see more and more these lower level, and I say that only as a classification, these lower classification schools are going to start putting players in the league that are better ready to be in the league. They're better football players. They're better IQ. They're better skill level for several reasons. One's going to be they're getting better coaching. Two is going to be they've had better stability. And three is going to be they have taken that part of the game seriously, more serious than the guys that have been getting the $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million a year, more concerned about their cars, their places that they're living, the ice that they're wearing, and the girlfriends that they need to outfit. They have had those distractions for the last 4 years, and you have been focused. And you're going to start seeing players from strange places making rosters, getting on the field, and doing big things. I really, truly see. I've not been wrong on much when it comes to college football and how this whole NIL transfer portal thing is going to shake out. I've not been wrong on it. Emil Calamino and I have been talking about it on Two Chums Football Podcast. I coached high school football down here in South Florida. I coached youth football down here in South Florida. And before any of this transfer portal NIL stuff came around, we had that kind of thing going on down here in South Florida. Little league kids will change, go from one park to another. Coaches will pay bills for moms and dads to get a player on one youth football team to another. High school football coaches making in-home visits with team polos on. We've had it all down here in South Florida. I saw all of it. So when college football started saying we're relaxing the rules and you can do this and that, I just could refer to what has been happening in high school football here in South Florida for quite some time and say, I know what that's going to look like, and I'll be damned. That's what it's looking like. So hear me on this. I'm not claiming to be Nostradamus or a psychic reader, but hear me on it. So in closing, guys, really consider these smaller schools. Consider your development. Consider how you're going to get better as you move forward at these programs, and give yourself a chance as a total development. If you're a fringe player, be leery about chasing down all these schools, because 9 times out of 10, I'm seeing it's not working out. These fringe guys go to a school, then they're back in the portal, then they're at the portal. You had 3-4 schools, and you kind of ruined your development as a college football player. Really start thinking about those things. All right, happy to be back with you guys doing the GridIronStuds Show, looking to do these each and every week. So if you made it this far, you enjoyed it, you liked it, drop a comment down below, give this thing a like. Give it a share, all right? Maybe someone else you know needs to hear this. And go ahead and subscribe to the channel, or if you're listening to this on your podcast streamer, whatever you're using, Spotify, Apple, whatever the case may be, lock in. More GridIronStuds shows coming your way. I'm out of here. Until next time, GridIronStuds, be seen.